hourglass, so are the days of our lives. The program directors, the Deputy President of our beloved country, South Africa, distinguished guests, the Mandela family, Ozondwa, Osopityo, Odlomo, the Madikizela family, Omsutu, Ongutyana, fellow South Africans, I greet you all in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ. Amen. This morning, I remembered my first encounter with Umama, as I called her. She was a mother, a friend, and a boss. I remembered when I was called in for an interview. That was on the 1st of November in 2007. And when I walked in and she looked at me and she said, "I love your outfit. How did you match these colors? And your age makes me very comfortable." And she asked me to turn around so she could see the outfit. And I did just that. And when we got into the office, we talked about clothes. She asked me who my designer was, as if I had a designer, but I had to say, I've got somebody that makes my clothes, and this person is very perfect. And that is all we talked about that day. And when she said to me, "No, it's fine, they will call you. I've got other people to interview." Then I said to her, "You still haven't interviewed me. We just talked about clothes, remember?" And she said, "No, it's fine. There's somebody that I have to interview after you." And I left. But the excitement was that I had spoken to Mrs. Mandela. And I remember that I got home and I said, "God, what else can I ask for?" I spoke to Mrs. Mandela today. And when they called me the following day, I thought it was going to be the second interview, and she showed me her office. It took me a very long time, about 6 months, to even tell people that I was Mrs. Mandela's personal assistant, because I just couldn't believe it myself. I remember one time I was in church, and for some strange reason, I shared with the lady that was sitting next to me. I said to her, "Do you know I am Mrs. Winnie Mandela's personal assistant?" And she looked at me and she said, You wish." I said, "Okay." And just then somebody said, "Soweto, you have to start a hymn." I didn't even know which hymn to start. I just started a hymn. But that's how exciting it was to work, to serve Mrs. Mandela. I stand before you today not only representing Zodwa, because it's not only me that served Mrs. Mandela. I stand before you representing all the personal assistants that served her before me. I represent the kitchen staff, I represent the protectors, the gardeners, and the nurses who became part of her. I don't know at what point would we talk about our funerals. And she would say to me, "You know, Zodwa, I'll make you famous when I'm dead." And I would look at her and say, "How so?" And she'd say, because you'll speak at my funeral. And the whole world will listen to you, and you'll tell a story that nobody else knows. And don't even try to be a politician, because you are not. Khulume nje obubuKristu bakho zodwa, and comfort my children. And I would say to her, unfortunately, you won't hear me because you'll be late. Because you are forever late, and you'll be late at your own funeral. And she would laugh, and I would say to her, at my funeral, please kiss. And she would say, what do you mean kiss? And I'd say, keep it short, sweetie, because my minister will only give me 2 hours funeral. And she said, you, Zodwa, ndingamnqinda. Anikeze iPA kabani 2 hours yomngcwabo. Sobe, wena kufanele ukuthi sithethe ilanga lonke. Thank you, Mama, for preparing me for this day. It has not been easy. We lost Mama at the time when we least expected it. Allow me, therefore, to share just the 3 weeks before the Easter Monday. Fellow South Africans, Easter Monday will never be the same. Whether Easter Monday, one day, if it will ever happen, that it be in May or June, but Easter Monday will never be the same. Thuthuzelenkani, mzi wakwaMandela. Thuthuzelenkani, fellow South Africans. Thuthuzelenkani, mzi wakwaMadikizela. 2 weeks ago, we were watching TV with her, and she said to me, Zodwa, I would like you to organize me to go to Moria. Please speak to my son, Patrice Mutsipe, and arrange that I go to Moria. And I looked at her, I said, are you serious? Then she said, yes. I said, okay, I'll do that. And the Tuesday before Good Friday, she was sitting with Zolega, and Ambassador Zinziswa had just called to say she would like to accompany her mother to the Good Friday service. I then reminded her, I said, Mama, Usi Zinzi will be accompanying you to the Good Friday service. And she said, no, I am not going, Zodwa. I'm not going to attend. I said, why? She said, because you are not going to be there. You have decided to go to Springs. And then how do I then go to church? Then I said, but I told you from the beginning of the year that I was not going to be with you. And she said, are you reminding me because you think I've forgotten? I'm just telling you that I am not going. And we laughed about it. And on Wednesday, Sizinzi came over, and she said to me, I hear Mama said she's not going to church because, I said, let's go upstairs and speak to her. And we went upstairs, and she said the same thing. I said, Mama, but I'm going to be preaching at Springs. It's not like I'm just leaving you. She said, it's okay, but I'm not going to church. On Thursday morning, I went to her bedroom, and she said to me, Zodwa, I am going to church after all. Can you imagine if anything can happen to me this year? What would I say to God if he asks me, why didn't you go to church? How can I say I didn't go to church because Zodwa was not there? Zodwa awunazulu. Ungeke undifake ezulwini. Please prepare my uniform and let me go to church. And I did just that. And late in the evening, I was in church, and a call came through. It was a private number, and I knew immediately that it was her. And because I didn't want to be disturbed, I then called the nurse. I said, what is she looking for? And she had left a message already on my phone. And on the message, she's saying, Zodwa, there's something I want to discuss with you. I am not comfortable. I don't know what to do because my nails are pink. And how do I wear a church uniform with pink nails? And I laughed. I said, but then what do I do? I'm home, it's 8 o'clock. How do I change the nails? And I laughed about it. And on Friday, she went to church. She was there for hours. And the Saturday morning, I called her. And we spoke, and she was so excited. She started preaching on the phone. She says, Zodwa, you remember the 14 stations that Zenani used to take us to? For the first time in my church, they spoke about the 14 stations. And that reverend with big hair, Mfundisi Ukamba, thank you so much. And the one part that really caught her was when Jesus fell, and when he woke up, he saw the mother. And she spoke about that, and she says, Zoto, I know the pain of falling. And when you stand up, you see the face of the people, and you long for their freedom. And I know that pain. And she continues, and she says to me, Zoto, please come over. Please come and let us discuss this. And I say, Mama, it's a Saturday, and I'm off, and are you going to pay me overtime? And she says, just come, Zodwa. And I'm glad I went. And when I got there, she made that call at about 8 minutes past 10. And I got there at past 11. She sensed that I had flu that day. And her voice was also hoarse. She had flu. And we talked about it. And when I got into the house, and I tried to hug her like we normally do. Mfundisi Mehana, you put it so beautifully. There is nobody I know that is able to greet people like Mama Winnie Mandela. She would make you comfortable. Noba ungubani, she didn't care of creed or color or anything, whether you are poor. To her, you are just a person that was important, and she would hug the best way she would do it. I asked her to hug her, and she said, Zodwa, please don't hug me because I have flu. I'm hurt because Uzolega couldn't even sleep here last night because I have flu. But let me share with you yesterday's sermon. And she started, and she talked about forgiveness. And it's one of those things that whenever she spoke about, she would have tears in her eyes, but the tears would not roll down her face. And she would say, Zodwa, I don't have tears anymore because I felt the pain up to the threshold. Tears don't come out anymore. And she spoke about that, and she went on, and she went on with all the words, and she came to the word where Jesus says, oh, Father, ukuphi. And she says, Zoto, you know, if umuntu agagaze afile, ukuthi uThixo akekho kufuphi naye, that person has not gone through pain. And I feel sorry for people who have never asked, God, where are you when it hurts? She said, I've asked those questions so many times, Zoto. And she says to me, Zoto, you have a way, a very beautiful way of asking this. What do you say? I normally say, sometimes you feel lonely in the midst of people. Because even people that you love will not be there. Julius Malema, I understood you when you say she was the stone that was rejected even by the builders. And she spoke about that. And she goes on and she speaks about the sixth word. And she said Jesus had done it all. And Jesus said, it is finished. And when she got there, Bishop, I'm very sorry to be saying this, but this is exactly what she said. She said, unfortunately, our churches in the location don't cater for people like us. They take too long. I was in church for 5 hours, and it was not yet finished. And I left just before the seventh word. And she says, Zodwa, please share with me what you preached, because you had gone to Springs to preach the last word. Father, in thy hands I commit my spirit. And I said to Mama, Mama, can we do this on Tuesday? I didn't know that Tuesday was not going to come. And she said to me, all I want, Zodwa, is to just have the 7 words, all the 7 words, because I never got to hear the 7th word. And I said to her, Mama, it's 1:20. I have to go to the bank, and the bank closes at 2 o'clock. Allow me just one sentence in my sermon I preached, which I never got to share with her. I borrowed words from Matthew Henry in his commentary. And Matthew Henry says, Jesus died with spiritual words in his mouth. Sizanani, Sizinzi, I don't know of your last conversation with your mother. Grandchildren, I don't know of your last conversation with your mother. To people that she called that day, I don't know what you talked about. But I, Zodwa Zwane, the last words, our last conversation, Mrs. Mandela died with spiritual words in her mouth. And may her soul rest in peace. On the day, on the 25th of January in 2012, that's the day she held a knee replacement surgery. On my way back from hospital to home, at the time there were boards, on the sides. And those boards had very beautiful message. But there is this message that just caught me, and I went home thinking about it. And the message read thus: real life only begins after the comfort zone. Bantwana baka Mama Mandela, when you still have a mother, you're in the comfort zone. Because a mother will do everything. You never got to know the value of a mother until she is no more. Even things that you took for granted, and take it that she did this because she's supposed to do it, you only get to value that when she is no more. Things are not going to be the same anymore. It is not going to be easy. Sometimes you'll call people and people will never take your calls. In real life, people do that. Sometimes you'll make an appointment and people will be very busy to see you. And when that happens and you feel the pain, just know that in normal life, in real life, that does happen. One of the things, as I was thinking about this, I said, it's not even about the big things that you will miss about your mother. It's the smaller things. Whenever you said, you are coming to see her at Parliament, the first thing she would say, you, hambani niyothenga amagwinya, bayazi abantwana bami. Whenever you go to Parliament, ningafumana amagwinya, you'll feel that pain and you'll cry and you'll say, if she was here, we would be having amagwinya. And may God be with you. Fellow South Africans, we have lost a mother. We have lost a friend. We have lost somebody that we treasured. And thank you for the love that you showed her all the time. And she loved you. To the ANC, Mama lived ANC. She talked about the ANC all the time. She loved it. And I'm glad because at the end, she was very, very proud about the ANC. And as I conclude, the mathematics that I was taught as a Form 2 student at Tembega High School is that for every elimination, there's substitution. And the science I was taught as a child as Zola is that nature does not allow any vacuum. And the Bible that I read says, Jesus Christ never left us alone. He left us with the Holy Spirit to comfort us. Somebody has to stake the spear and go on where Mrs. Mandela left off. I thank you.
Phila kuna phakati Winnie Madikizela-Mandela, phila kuna phakati. Long live the spirit of Winnie Madikizela-Mandela, long live. Okay, singacula kancane. Kamala makhosikazi. Kamala makhosikazi. Thank you so much for that song. I would like now to call upon friend of the family, Prince Mongusutu Nkosi Kabuthelezi, to also pay his tribute. Let's allow him to speak, then we'll sing after.
Ayihlale phansi ibambe umthetho. High discipline. High moral. High discipline. High moral.
Our directors of programs, the Honorable Lumvula Mokonyane, our minister, the Honorable Mashatile, the Treasurer General of the ANC, Your Excellency, our Deputy President Mabuza, the stepmother of our chief mourners, Madam Gracia Machel, Your Excellency, Ambassador Zanani Mandela, Dlamini, Your Excellency, Ambassador Zinzi Mandela Songwane, Inkosi Manda Mandela, Zolvelil, and all members of the Tembu royal family who are mourners with other members of the Mandela family, and also members of the family of our sister and heroine. Our honorable members of cabinet and our honorable chief whip, chief justice, the Honorable Moheng, our honorable ministers and their spouses, our reverend fathers who led us in devotions, our Reverend Mohano, who is also the chaplain of the African National Congress, and also Bishop Rivers, and other bishops present, and other men of the cloth who are present, leaders of other political parties. I saw Mr. Shivambo, the Deputy Commander-in-Chief of EFF, and other leaders present, Their Excellencies, Ambassadors and High Commissioners, members of the of our departments, in all departments. Fellow South Africans, a very big tree has fallen, and our nation mourns. In the days since her passing, the Honorable Mrs. Winnie Madikizela-Mandela has been honored with many fine tributes right across the world. She has been remembered as the mother of our nation. Incidentally, my late cousin, Bishop Bumlwana, my late cousin, Bishop Manas, was the first person to use that title when she was the president of the Council of Churches here in Johannesburg, that she was our mother, the mother of our nation. Her personal sacrifices for our freedom have been celebrated all over, and her courage has been applauded. Words have been spoken of her resilience, of her determination, and of her strength. What can I add? I can only speak of the woman that I knew, the woman who welcomed me into her home in Vilakazi Street, here in Orlando, when I visited her husband throughout the night. Even then, she was more than Madiba's wife. She was a passionate and lively ambassador for justice. She spoke with candor, and it was evident that beneath her words lay a coiled spring of action. Despite her youth and beauty, she was prepared to walk a path of collision with injustice. I admired her tremendously from the very word I met her. But I'm also grieved for that path of collision secured for her years of persecution, detention, surveillance, torture, beatings, and banishment. It is impossible to comprehend the degree of anxiety that was her constant companion. With everything that she suffered,
Comrades, hello, Salan Pansi.
he is the guest of the family, and they are offending not me, but the family.
Hey, comrades, Lapo, Salan Pans. Marshals, can you help us there? Those comrades there, Nina, t-shirts are white. Sit down.
With everything that she suffered for our freedom, her greatest loss was surely simple, and that was just that of not being a mother to her children. She met Madiba while he was on trial for high treason and married him while he was under a banning order. While she could not have foreseen his 27 years in prison, she undoubtedly knew that they would suffer periods of separation. What she did not know is that her children would forfeit both their parents. In other words, that her children would be orphaned while both of them were alive. In this time, fellow mourners of national mourning, my thoughts are with Zanani and Zindiso. They were babies when their father was imprisoned. And in his absence, they watched their mother's endless persecution. Often for months on end, she was taken away from them and held in detention. For more than a year, she remained in solitary confinement while her daughters longed for her presence. Now, fellow mourners, I have no better way of describing their pain, of the pain of these two children, than with the words of Zindiso herself. Zindiso wrote a tree was chopped down and the fruit was scattered. I cried because I had lost a family. The trunk, my father, the branches, he supports so much. The fruit, the wife and children, who meant so much to him, tasty, loving as they should be, all on the ground, and roots, happiness cut off from him. Unquote. I couldn't express it better than Zindi so herself expressed it. Now, fellow mourners, when we consider the extreme suffering of this family and how the girls were deprived of their parents, it is remarkable to see the women that they've become. It is a tribute to Mrs. Winnie Madikizela-Mandela that her daughters, in spite of all that, rose. How easily they could have sunk in the mire of sadness, how easily they could have drowned in their tears. Yet that tenacity of spirit that lived in their mother made a home also in her daughters as well. They are so like her in courage and resilience. And like their mother, Her Excellency, Princess Zanani Mandela Dlamini, and Her Excellency Zindiso Mandela Shongwane, they are serving their country. They are serving all of us. Just as Mom Madikizela-Mandela was an ambassador of freedom, her daughters are ambassadors of a liberated South Africa. And I think it is fitting, and we are proud. In her book, 491 Days, Mrs. Winnie Madikizela-Mandela wrote about her daughters, and I quote her, "Looking back as a parent, you feel you do not deserve this forgiveness because you cannot explain yourself to the children, and you fear that they would never understand. We are lucky that they understand so much anyway," unquote. When we call Mom Madikizela-Mandela the mother of a nation, we acknowledge that we all who live in a liberated South Africa are her children. How much do we understand, I ask? How much have we offered forgiveness, as Soweto mentioned just now? And I ask these difficult questions because of the enmity that still lives in the hearts of many. Mama Madikizela-Mandela was carved by injustice. No one could have escaped being shaped by such an experience. Looking back now on a lifetime, some have brazenly asked, was she a sinner or was she a saint? Let me give an answer. I believe as much as Madiba believed, because both of us believed in this code, I believe, as Madiba did, that a saint is not someone who has never sinned. A saint is merely a sinner who dies trying. Now, here in Soweto, where Mama Winnie lived, in Brantford, where she was exiled, and everywhere where she extended a hand to the poor, to the downtrodden, and the struggling, here she'll be remembered as a saint. And I think the outpourings of love and admiration that we see all over our country after her passing says to me that to all of us, she is indeed a saint. As Zindi so wrote, and I would like to quote her again, "I need a neighbor who will live a teardrop away, who will open up when I knock late at night," unquote. For so many, Winnie Madikizela-Mandela was that neighbor. They will mourn her passing, remembering the great tree under which they found shelter. Many more whom she never met will mourn, remembering how her journey inspired them to keep going in their own journey of hardship. Her friends, among whom I'm gratefully counted, will remember her lively and indomitable spirit, her candor, and her commitment. We'll miss her in the time to come. But the deeper sorrow, of course, is reserved for her family. And it's for them that we express our sympathy and condolences. We pray that the Lord will bring healing and comfort to them. May you find strength in the words of admiration and gratitude that is pouring out from all corners of the world about your beloved mother. I extend my condolences to the President of the African National Congress and to the members of the African National Congress and to the members of the Women's League of the African National Congress. Yes, fellow mourners, a big tree has fallen, but its fruit is not scattered. We are planted together, and together we will grow. This will be her legacy. Sithi Mntaka Madikizela alale ngoxolo. I'm requesting all the men to stand with me for the final salute I'm making to my sister, to our leader, to our icon. Ngicela amadoda sukume. Nobanja. Nobanja.
Siyabonga Shenge. Comrades and Mandla, imani kancane ngengoma, imani kancane ngengoma. Hlalani phansi maqabane. I want to, with the powers vested in me, to change the program. Soweto Gospel Choir will now only perform after the Deputy President has spoken. And I'm going to have the following three speakers to speak without any song in between. Once they are done, then we will allow you to speak so that we can manage time because the weather might change. So please don't sing. The following speakers must prepare themselves. I'll start with Strike Tokwani. Please come forward from Azapo. Will be followed by Nanias Muloto, PAC. And lastly, Jesse Duarte, ANC. Please allow all of them to speak and finish before we sing, right? And once they are done, I'm going to allow you to sing before we call the Deputy President to deliver his tribute. Yeah.
Mandla! Mandla! Viva Zapo, viva!
Thank you, Program Director, Mr. Mashatile, and Mema Mkonyane, the Deputy President of South Africa, Tate Mabuza, the Chief Justice of South Africa, Comrade Mogoeng, the family of Mayor Winnie Madikizela-Mandela, leaders of political organizations here present, and all protocol observed. Amandla, the reason I stand here to pay tribute to the family is that as the Azanian People's Organization, we have served with the deceased. We were together in the trenches with Comrade Winnie Mandela. We were together in prison with his organization. We were together in our communities, our struggling communities, struggling together. And that qualifies us to come here and pay tribute. As soon as we got the message that she had left this world, we found it befitting to do the African thing. We went to Orlando West to say, "Akungehlanga lungehlanga." We have also heard and we paid tribute to the family. I also met Comrade Zenani, the first daughter, and because we were together in the trenches, I reminded her that together we're in Libya and we shared the difficult times in trying to liberate this country we want to call Azania. When the Black Consciousness Movement was formed in the early 60s, the people who formed the Black Consciousness Movement, using the Black Consciousness philosophy, they were young people who also needed among themselves the elderly, because at the time there was skepticism as to what young people can do. So there was a sense in which there were limitations in taking our message to the communities and to the public and to our people, because we're simply students and young people in the streets. So we went out to look for the progressive, the relevant, and the people who were elderly and were in the struggle. We reached out to Robert Sobukwe, we reached out to Mayor Winnie Mandela, we reached out to Ntate Mtlana, we reached out to Ntate Matabate, we reached out to all the other people who we regarded as having been relevant, because the other people were incarcerated in prison. And we found resonance with some of these people. Mayor Winnie is one of those who took part in us without actually looking at the differences we had in ideology. Because all that we are talking about was how we can liberate our country, how we can get black people to fight for freedom, because at the time we were tired of the people who thought they could represent us but could not go the whole hog. And we mentioned, or we went to those who'd want to go with us all the distance. When she was banished in Bramford, it is the late Comrade Musala, it is our Comrade Lobata, it is the leadership of Azapo that went to Bramford to try and empathize and be with her in the struggle, so that she could know that in this revolution, in this struggle, young people have bought in the struggle, and they were prepared to go all the way so that our country could be free. Our Secretary General, Comrade Zithulele Qindi, who spent time with the late Tata Madiba in the same cell on Robben Island, and when he was out, he accompanied the late Comrade Asfat to Brantford, also to be with Mayor Winnie Mandela. We really want to appreciate, and this is what we are saying to the family, we really want to appreciate the contribution she made to our revolution. 1994 happened, a lot of people arrived in 1994, but Azapo and Winnie Mandela did not arrive. They saw it as another station in the revolution we are waging. And we were heartened when sometimes we hear her talk about the struggle that still needs to be waged. We are heartened when sometimes we hear her talk about the issues of land, that our land needs to be nationalized. Every square inch of the land, the minerals below it, the sea, the skies above it, every inch of the land that is arable, the land that is rich, the land that is the hands of the other people. And she would say, we must get that land back, and we must struggle to be able to revolutionize the youth and understand the issues of land. Sometimes she would say Tengisiwe and would feel happy as Azapo. But what we want to say to this nation, to this country, Azania, that our job is not finished, and we are going to pray that we continue with other struggle until Freedom Day comes. Amandla!
Re a leboga Ntate Thokwana, Comrade Moloto, come forward, PAC.
Amandla, mayibuye, izwe lethu. Comrade Program Director and the family of Mama Winnie Madikizela-Mandela, the leaders of other political parties that are here, the churches, the priests, I'm told also the Chief Justice. Let me take this opportunity on behalf of the Pan-Africanist Congress of Azania to once again thank the family that has managed to bring about this great hero of the struggle, Mama Winnie Madikizela-Mandela, who is undisputed leader of the struggle during the difficult times. Now, when we heard of his passing, initially we thought it is an April Fool because it happened during the month of April. But once we accepted that it is correct, it is true that she has passed on, we begin to feel and that we need to memorize, we need to visit her contribution to the struggle. We need to relive the times, the hard times that she was able to stand alone when the liberation movement, the African National Congress, and the Pan-Africanist Congress were banned. When talking and calling the names of these political parties was punishable through imprisonment. Now it was Mama Winnie Madikizela-Mandela who kept on the torch in this country. She gave her party, African National Congress, a competitive advantage over others because she continued to behave as if the ANC is not banned. She went from all corners promoting and talking about the African National Congress. But she did not stop there. She represented and she organized, she encouraged the youth. She at all times identified with the poor people. She was at all times through tribulations when the communities are suffering, the communities were forcefully removed. It was Mama Winnie Madikizela-Mandela that always took side of the community. When the police harassed the communities and our people, it was Mama Madikizela-Mandela who was on the part of the communities. So she's an unquestionable icon of the struggle for the liberation. Now, as the Pan-Africanist Congress of Azania, we do share ancestors with the African National Congress because we were there when it was formed. We also share the original purpose of why the two liberation movements were formed. When the African people were dispossessed of their land and were dispossessed of their dignity as people, the African National Congress was born purely to fight and retain the dignity of its people through fighting for the repossession of the land. And later, the Pan-Africanist Congress of Azania was also formed and emphasized that the dignity of our people can only be retained back to them. They can only regain the dignity when the land, which was the main cause of the struggle throughout the continent of Africa, is retained or restored. Now, the big question, and when we celebrate the life of this great icon of our struggle, is that what can we do for her, both as liberation movement. The agenda of the liberation movement in this country is not finished. It is not yet completed, because the founding fathers of the two liberation movements emphasize, and to them, freedom is attained and is complete when the land is returned to its original owners, the African people, and it has been distributed so that the African people can gain their dignity. Now, I want to take this opportunity to extend, we have already said to the African National Congress and to the government that the Pan-Africanist Congress of Azania will work closely with government and with all political parties, with churches, in regaining the dignity of our people, working seriously on redistributing the wealth of the country, and in ensuring that the social dignity and the economic well-being of our people is looked after. Now, in contributing and in conclusion, we are still making ourselves available. We have already said that to the Deputy President in Sharpeville, and we are repeating it. Millions and millions of our cadres, let us dedicate our life to serving our people. Now, the best contribution and the best thing we can do to this great woman who never discriminated on the organization and liberation movement. She was there when the commander of APLA was buried in the Eastern Cape. She is always with us. She is always with all the liberation forces. And for that, we are grateful to the family. We are grateful to the African National Congress. May her soul rest in peace. Isoletu.
Thank you, Comrade Mloto. We now invite Comrade DSG, Comrade Jesse Duarte. We need to create a small platform.
Amandla! Viva Viva ANC, viva! Viva the people of South Africa, viva! Viva all political parties present today, EFF, IFP. Are you there? Azapo, are you there? PAC, are you there? ANC, are you there? To the Mandela and Madikizela family, on behalf of the ANC, we extend our gratitude to you as well as our sympathy for your loss. Our gratitude for the unselfish manner in which you shared a phenomenal South African with the rest of us. Comrade Winnie Mandela is the Winnie Mandela of the people of Kola Park, is the Winnie Mandela of the people of Ivory Park, is the Winnie Mandela of the people of Slovo Park. She is the Winnie Mandela of the poor and the Winnie Mandela of the working classes of this country. She gave everything she had. She kept very little for herself and her family. She gave us her life, her commitment. She never betrayed our struggle. She did not betray the revolution. And until her last days, her wish was for the unity of the ANC, for the petty squabbles to disappear, for those who saw themselves as needing to be more powerful than others to understand one thing and one thing only, that without the ANC, we are nothing. Comrade Winnie has multiplied, and she multiplied many, many decades ago. As younger women, we watched and stood with her as she was insulted, talked about, lied about. And yesterday, I heard that a certain Erasmus has confessed that they planned all this, that they paid journalists to write stories about her. And today we want to say, for those of you whose hearts are unforgiving, sit down and shut up. This is our hero. This is our heroine. We know her worth. She gave everything to us. Comrade Winnie Mandela loved the African National Congress. She made it her life. She gave to every child that was abandoned a space to live. No child was ever turned away. She did not abandon her own family. I think we need to say that. She worked in whatever way she could to maintain her family, to keep it together. So when you make your comments, and we know that we don't like your comments, we say to you, best you keep quiet. Mama Mandela was very methodical. There were times when she told us that you have to learn to talk and shoot at the same time. When the armed struggle was, we were told that the armed struggle was no more. Her lesson was, yes, go to the peace committees with the umfundisis and the priests. Go and talk peace to our people. But remember, the enemy shoots with real bullets. They don't play games. So when we say to you, her life's work of returning the land to the people is not negotiable, Know that to be the truth. Know that there is no walking away from that decision. It must happen. It will happen. Her life's work of free education, which she talked about for decades, is now happening. It must happen, and it will happen. And comrades and friends, she understood like no other person did that the inequality of our society will only grow bigger as our democracy deepens. And therefore we needed to challenge the structure of this economy that worked for the 1% of the economy, and the rest of us had to struggle as we always have. Radical economic transformation is here to stay. We, the people of South Africa, all of us, black and white, have to work together to make this happen. This is not for anyone and against anyone else. It is for all of us, just as returning the land to the people is our only option that is meant for all of us. I was asked not to speak very long, but I want to part with one message to all of you. Comrade Winnie has inspired a whole generation of younger women who stood up and talked in the last few days about the strength of women and how strong women are treated in this country. There is no looking back. There's only looking forward for the women of South Africa. So with our dukes, we will emancipate all the women of this country. Amandla! Amandla!
Mama, uzobuya, uzobuya, namaswidi tulamdwana, tulumama, uzobuya, uzobuya, namaswidi Lord. Hey, when I temper, Lord. Hey,
Long live the spirit of Winnie Madikizela-Mandela, long live. Now I'm going to allow you to sing revolutionary songs. Asculeni leo mama bayithanda kakhulu ethi bambeni bafana. Which corner want to start? Okay, that corner on my left. Ibambeni bafana, ibambeni bo mama. Ibambeni wezinsizwa. Tem base do lado.
Salabafazi, Zinkumbuzo, Winnie Mandela, Webafazi, Ibambeni wezintombi, Ibambeni webafazi, Ibambeni nazintombi, Isipamu salabafazi. Bayaphukana.
Winnie Mandela.
Zinkumbuzo, Winnie Mandela.
Matla. Mandla. Mandla. Winnie Mandela, sipamusa labafazi, inkumbuzo. Winnie Mandela, iwe bafazi. Ibambeni wezintombi. Ebafazi. Ibambeni wezintombi. Alabafazi. Kumbuzo. Winnie Mandela. Sinkumbuza Winnie Mandela isiba alabafazi sinkumbuza Winnie Mandela bambeni. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you very much. That was very special. Thank you so very much. Thank you very much. Makaban, comrades on the left. Kanani nje. Kanani Makaban on the left. Makaban on the left. We want to move on now. We want to move on now. Kancane nje, kancane. You will sing again. Just be patient. Fellow Monas comrades, I would like now to invite His Excellency, Deputy President of the Republic of South Africa, David Mabuza to pay tribute. Let's allow him to address. We'll sing afterwards. Let's be quiet. Allow Deputy President to pay tribute on behalf of our government and our nation.
Amandla, Matla, Matimba, all power. Thank you very much for the opportunity granted to us. The Madikizela family and the Mandela family, Miss Grasha Michelle and children, friends and relatives of Winnie Madikizela-Mandela, and all fellow mourners. The mother of the nation is gone. When she passed on, we heard the skies weeping, as if to mirror the emotions felt by the nation and the world. Though gone from our human eye, the black fortress of human dignity cannot be erased from the grieving hearts of Africa. Because of you, where the tender heart of poets and sweet melody of musicians, in 1,000 years, our children will return here and say, we love you without reservation, Mama Winnie Madikizela-Mandela. Nomzamo wetu, nomzamo wabantu, you are the ancient gift of our ancestors, an undying promise of our children. The raised fists of power and the battle cry of Amandla has returned quietly to your chest. Now the palm of your hand must shield your delicate heart that has ceased to beat. In letting you to go, we surrender to the call of the universe that it is time our ancestors wipe the tears etched in your soul, which in life you refuse to shed. Nomzamo wetu, only newborn babies will open our eyes to the true wonder and fortune of our generation. They will say, blessed are we who in our lifetime had an opportunity to live with you. Unborn babies will envy us for our blessing to have seen you, to have touched you, and felt the love of Nomzamo Wesizwe. Born out of our bones, flesh out of our flesh, spirit out of our ancestors. You strode like a gentle titan, allowing us to state that the children of Africa are also sons and daughters of the Almighty God. In life, you reminded our daughters and mothers that it is them who are powerful beyond measure. You taught young women across the nation that they are just capable if not more capable, of standing shoulder to shoulder with men, being totally unapologetic about it. Till death, you knew who your enemy was. Racial domination, class exploitation, and gender oppression. Bogoto, malibongwe igama lamakhosikazi. Proud descendants of Ngutjana and Msuthu, you fought a good fight, leading the despised masses from the front. You grinded and crushed the tyranny of racial oppression. Despite their cruelty, humiliation, and torture, you returned with no broken back to our kings, Pondo and Faku. Your courage in the face of death, your courage in the face of imprisonment and banishment opened our eyes and inspired generations of freedom fighters. You are an embodiment of our struggle. You are a torchbearer of our liberation. Women could say that they are worthy of descendants of the brave Queen Zinga, who went to war with the Portuguese to put an end to the enslaved of the children of Africa and the plunder of her resources. Beyond the shores, when you meet your sister, Maya Angelou, she will honor and crown you. She will attest that in life and death, Mama Winnie Madikizela-Mandela is the dream and hope of the slave. She will say in life and death, you are the black ocean connecting us to the everlasting strength of Africans in the continent. In life and death, you remain unbreakable, not tying us to the bravery and heroism of the Jamaican warrior, Queen Nani and Harriet Tubman, who took it as their honor to go to war, to go to battle, to free the slaves. In your warm eyes, Mama Winnie, and in your giggles, in your laughs, we will always encounter the revolutionary love and peace of Agostino Neto, of Samora Machel, of Nkgopotse Tiro, and of Solomon Mahlangu. In you, we have learned to forgive because of your abounding love and respect of Helen Joseph, of Bram Fisher, of Lillian Goyi, of Fatima Meir, and Sophie Dubrain. Yours was a revolution of love seeking to usher a more humane world for all the children of our land, black and white, to usher a new dawn in human relations. You struck terror right at the heart of racial discrimination and injustice. At the end, you have set the bar high and left a legacy that will live on well into ages. You are very brave, very tenacious, unrelenting, bold, gracious, loving, and kind. In your undiminished love for Madiba, in your uncompromising love for Zenani and Zinzi, we find the grace and we find peace. To stay on course, now that you are gone, we must sing in unison with Thandi Somazwai. We must rise in humility and wisdom to accept that the ghetto is our first love. We must sing from dawn till sunset that Madikizela-Mandela uyikawe lamakawe asoze sakulibala noma nini. You merit the struggle and gave everything to it, but you never asked for anything in return from anyone. Because of that, we are enjoying our fundamental rights to choose who our leaders should be. We are enjoying the access to basic services like clean water, electricity, and a decent shelter over our heads. It takes someone special to sacrifice their lives the way you have done. Despite your contribution to the struggle that was often met with contempt, we salute you. You remained unrelenting even until the last years of your life. At the wise old age of 80, you were still fighting for those voices that had ceased with the passing of time. Away from the gaze of the journalists, away from the gaze of the media, you're working quietly with your family, with your people in Bizana to raise funds to help the family of a 5-year-old Lumka who fell in a pit toilet and lost her life. Mama Winnie was a soldier of God, a devoted member of Umanyano. You can see the mothers who are wearing their uniform here. She was part of them. She wore her church blouse with pride at the Methodist Church in Meadowlands. Long after dawn of freedom, she was always ready to lend a hand to help bury relatives of her congregants. A fellow church member, Umama Uvivi Hlachwai, said of her recently, I open quote, Mama Vivi said she did not hold back from giving. She sacrificed herself for all of us, the nation and the church. She put others ahead of herself. It will always be written in the stars that when the shining princess of the Madikizelas enter the gates of heaven, she will hear the angels belting her favorite hymn, Zulu Yemfihlakalo, to welcome her. She is our soldier of peace. She will sing with the angels. So the angels will rejoice again that in life she remained an epitome of black excellence. She remained our pride and dignity. The angels will rejoice because her community never had to bend down on their knees to beg for help from her. They did not have to explain to her why long after our freedom, they could not afford the costs of burying their loved ones or putting food on the table. She was a friend of the workers of our land. She will never dare humiliate the poor or treat them with contempt when they sought help from her. The most vulnerable amongst us could always trust her with their pain and suffering. They knew that only in her heart will they compose headlines about her kindness. We want to thank all her neighbors in Soweto that upon hearing that Mama was no more, they decided to suspend everything in their daily lives in Vilakazi Street to mourn the passing away of our mother. Mama Winnie must have been proud to see you as neighbors observe your rituals, your traditions of our people, because in all her fame and glory, she remained an innocent village girl from Mbongweni who hunted and challenged boys in stick fighting. Till the end of time, her heartbeat remained the hope and rhythm of Bizana, the hope of Soweto, the hope of Brantford, the hope of New Brighton, the hope of Kukuletu, and the hope of Diepslot. Mama Winnie's home has a clear view of Orlando Stadium, where we are today, gathered to celebrate her life. This is a home which her heart and her arms was a refuge and a place of safety and comfort for those who sought protection against apartheid state, and a place of counsel for those who wish to continue and contribute in our struggle. Her home will remain a monument to an extraordinary life of sacrifice and resilience. It is a home which is a symbol of global victory against apartheid, which the United Nations declared a crime against humanity. In Brantford, where Mama Winnie was banished by the apartheid state, the home imposed on her also emerged as a site where human spirit has triumphed. Around our country, numerous informal settlements bear the name of Mama Winnie Madikizela-Mandela, not in vain, but because of the struggle she joined and led in all the corners of our country. With the adoption of her name, they expressed their hope that in informal settlements will one day be transformed to better living conditions. Her concern for the well-being of others made her a formidable champion of human rights. Her unselfish activism epitomizes true values of a servant leadership, which all of us must emulate as we go about performing our leadership responsibilities. As a recipient of the Order of Lituli, her excellent contribution to our liberation struggle, Mama Winnie joins the gallery of brave South Africans whose fight for freedom caused them to perform feats that achieved great outcomes. Mama Winnie became a face and an icon of the struggle faced by black women all over the world. Her activism cuts across the distinction of gender, the distinction of race and class. She was committed to the attainment of all human rights for all our people. Her only preoccupation was to serve humanity in its totality. In the past few days, Mama Winnie's sense of universalism was echoed by millions across the world, and the visits to her home by various leaders and people from different political persuasions is testimony to her status as a global freedom fighter. Once more, we want to thank all our political parties in South Africa for the love they've shown to the mother of the nation. They've demonstrated that when time comes, they can move, rise beyond party politics. Umama Winnie triumphed and led a life of reconciliation and the reconstruction and renewal of our country. Our constitutional wisdom and vision of a non-racial, non-sexist, united, and a prosperous South Africa drew inspiration from the values and vision she stood for. She was one of those indestructible rocks that the apartheid struck when it sought to denigrate and abuse and oppress women in our society. As a young and recently qualified social worker, Winnie was a shining example of the confluence of professional and political commitment. 60 years after Mama Winnie Mandela qualified as a social worker, the need for more social workers of her caliber who will place the betterment of our society ahead of their personal well-being remains a great necessity. As a militant revolutionary, her objective was always to transform the society she served, rather than responding only to individual instances of disadvantage and underdevelopment. Family and friends, there are important lessons that we can learn from Mama Winnie. She's leaving behind a political home, the African National Congress, and all progressive forces of the democratic mass movement. His political home, the ANC, has got a lot to learn from this gallant fighter. She valued collective leadership. She stood for the truth as it relates to the betterment of the lives of our people. She fought against factionalism. She fought against personality cults. She was always more about we than I. Even when she was no longer in government, she understood the challenges facing the ANC and government. She always sought to find solutions to unite all our people and their organization. She could easily do so because Mama Winnie was not known to speak behind her comrades. If she did not agree with you, she never hesitated to correct you there and there. Many leaders in the ANC have stories of how Mama Winnie warmly embraced them and kissed them in public while she will admonish them in private. She spoke less of my children, Zinzi and Zenane, but she spoke more of our children. And the enemy perfectly understood what she meant when she said, my people. She was a unifier of a visionary note. The lasting moment we will ever build for Mama is for all South Africans to unite behind the vision of a united, non-racial, non-sexist, just and a prosperous country. We can do all this by relentlessly tackling poverty, reducing inequality, and selflessly serving the poor, who will be best living the values that she stood for. Fellow South Africans and all our friends around the globe, once more, we want to extend our heartfelt condolences to the Madikizela family and the Mandela family on your irreplaceable loss. May you be consoled in the knowledge that across the length and breadth of our country and the world, young people are opening their eyes and proclaiming that Mama Winnie Madikizela-Mandela did not die, but she has multiplied. She was a beacon of hope, a beacon of peace, a rare breed to have lived amongst us. Her principles and courage will forever live amongst us and will be a reference point for generations and generations to come. As I conclude, allow me to read an excerpt from Alice Walker's poem, which she dedicated it to the mother of the nation in the 80s. It reads as follows, I open quotes. Winnie Mandela, we love your vigilance. We love your impatience with killers and charlatans. We love your hatred of the deaths of our people. We love your hatred of despair. Winnie Mandela, our sister, we love you. Yours is a contemporary face of the mother of the human race. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deputy President. I want to keep my promise, so I want the Soweto Gospel Choir to be ready. And as they prepare, you are free to sing. And I'm going to hand over to Comrade Nomvula to wrap up the session. I leave you once again with the words of Umama. I shall never lose hope. My people shall never lose hope. Thank you very much.
Come Kumnandi ukuba la. It's nice to be here. Kumnandi ukuba la. It's nice to be here. Viva Nomzamo Madikizela-Mandela, viva! Thank you, Siyabonga. Thank you very much, Comrade Treasurer General of the ANC, Comrade Paul Mashatile. I'm now going to invite Akere Runa Rebatu Limudimu. Mama ke motho le Modimo. Ha re kontle re a ikatumetsa ho tlo bofa lelapa le lesika ka di-bandage jwale. Ngoba umduduzi omkhulu uyena uNkulunkulu. So sizobiza ke uReverend Meana ukuthi aze la phambili phambi kokuthi sibe noBishop wethu uMpumlwana okuyena ozosihlanganisa nomduduzi omkhulu ngegama lika Yesu Kristu inkosi yethu. Baba Meana.
May we now come to the moment to read the Minister of the Word. We are now to read the Minister of the Word from the Bible in the book of the Gospel according to St. Luke, chapter 23. We read from verses 50 and up to 24, verses 1 to 12. There was a man named Joseph from Arimathea, a town in Judea. He was a good and honorable man who was waiting for the coming of the kingdom of God. Although he was a member of the council, he had not agreed with their decision and action. He went into the presence of Pilate and asked for the body of Jesus. Then he took the body down, wrapped it in a linen sheet, and placed it in a tomb which had been dug out of solid rock and which had never been used. It was Friday and the Sabbath was about to begin. Then women who had followed Jesus from Galilee went with Joseph and saw the tomb and how Jesus' body was placed in it. Then they went back home and prepared the spices and perfumes for the body. On the Sabbath, they rested as the law commanded. Very early on Sunday morning, the women went to the tomb, carrying the spices they had prepared. They found the stone rolled away from the entrance to the tomb. So they went in, but they did not find the body of the Lord Jesus. They stood there puzzled about this, when suddenly two men in bright shining clothes stood by them. Full of fear, the women bowed down to the ground as the men said to them, "Why are you looking among the dead for one who is alive? He is not here. He has been raised. Remember what he said to you while he was in Galilee. The Son of Man must be handed over to sinners, be crucified, and 3 days later rise to life." Then the women remembered his words, returned from the tomb, and told all those things to the 11 disciples and all the rest. Then women were Mary Magdalene, Joanna, and Mary, the mother of James, they and the other women with them told these things to the apostles. But the apostles thought that what the women said was nonsense, and they did not believe them. But Peter got up and ran to the tomb. He bent down and saw the linen wrappings, but nothing else. Then he went back home, amazed at what has happened. This is the gospel of Jesus, and thanks be to God. We sing verse 1 and the last verse of Mama's favorite hymn, Nzulu yemfihlakalo, Nzulu yesimanga.
Zulu yemfihlakalo, Nzulu yesimanga, ezalise umhlaba nesibhakabhaka, lenzulu yesimanga, ngokathi kunyana oweza ebantwini ngokubasindisa. Hayi, obabunzulu bolo, thando lwakho nalo msebenzi wakho ongenakuqondwa, abakholwayo namhla, abana akukhwetshwa mawo, dunyiswe Nkosi kusephakadeni. Amen.
Amen. Why do you seek the living one amongst the dead? He is not here, but is risen. In the name of God, amen. Early in June 1976, on the occasion of the formation of the Black Parents Association, Mrs. Winnie Madikizela-Mandela said the following almost characteristic words. On this occasion, it is necessary from the onset to state that we are gathered here as fellow blacks in a black atmosphere in the black community, which has been designed for us without consulting us and against our wishes. We are not conforming to anybody's concept. In the same way, we have to carry passes which we abhor because we cannot have houses without them. We cannot work without them. We are endorsed out of towns without them. We cannot register births without them. We are not even expected to die without them. This is why we are gathered here, not only to discuss common problems, but also to rediscover ourselves, our dignity, and to instill in ourselves self-reliance and self-respect. All we need to remember is that not one city, not one building, one road, one railway line was ever built without us. We have made our country what it is. We have dug up and we're still digging the wealth of our land gold, diamonds, coal, and so on, and surrender these to the whites who own them by virtue of being white. As soon as we finished building up the cities, the white men threw us out of them and designed the matchbox houses for us. Those monotonous, depressing, gray structures whose very appearance kills the soul. As we were housed in these, we were simultaneously and systematically stripped of one right after another. Today we're meeting once more to re-examine ourselves, our role as parents, as residents and citizens of our country. Let us leave this meeting with the spirit of rebirth, of purification from the humiliation of domination. If you are to free yourselves, you must break the chains of oppression. Only then can we express our dignity. Any acceptance of humiliation, indignity, or insult is acceptance of inferiority. As one quotation goes, once the mind is free, the body will soon be free. This vintage Nomzamo statement pretty much sums up both the message of her life and the spirit of her energy. Reading this today might occasion a certain discomfort for some amongst us, which comes from having assumed that the impact of what Winnie was talking about back then is no longer with us. This was in 1976 in Soweto, but this little extract illustrates the nature and the mission of the person that we honor and celebrate at this time. The trail that she leaves cuts a pattern we shall never forget. It is a pattern of instinctive care for the downtrodden, a pattern of the fierceness of a lioness in hunt upon conviction of need, a pattern of clarity of analysis and a readiness to expand herself for the public good. We are challenged in her memory to take deliberate steps towards a new social and economic compact for the promise of the post-apartheid South Africa that's free of racism, free of tribalism, free of xenophobia and all gender prejudices, free of deprivation and corruption, where every child is free to grow to its God-given potential. Does the celebration of the life that we honor today teach us anything about how we to be citizens? Does it offer any instruction for those of us who profess the faith that Winnie embraced for herself as a disciple of Jesus Christ, whose resurrection is the foundation of our faith? To the Madikizela and Mandela families, we're all here to say your loss is our loss. And through these somewhat insignificant messages in themselves, we hope to build up a comforting wall around you. Winnie's girls, your children, and your grandchildren. Madikizelas and Mandelas, sithi thuthuzelekani mkhululeni ngenhliziyo ezinoxolo ningalumangaleli uhambo aluthathileyo. Amongst many who have served this nation with their all, she stands with the tallest. The power of her presence will tower on long after her departure. We gather today to try and interpret her life and death in the context of the faith in the Lord Jesus Christ, whom she chose as the anchor of her life. We have learned that Winnie had chosen to make Jesus her Savior and had found her peace in her discipleship in the same Son of Mary, the woman who forever has the image of sorrow as she had to witness the gruesome death of her son on the cross. A woman whose sorrow is relived daily by many mothers in our dusty streets. The story goes that one woman died just after Easter and went to heaven. And St. Peter received her and said, "You have come a long way after much suffering, and yet somehow you seem to have much peace about you. Relax and feel at home. And if you need clarity on anything around here, just ask, we're here for you." She said, "Well, may I ask a favor of you?" "Yes." offered St. Peter. Could I see Mary, the mother of Jesus? I have just a little question for her. Of course I can arrange that, said Peter. So the woman met St. Mary and said, what a joy to meet you in person. Please, can you tell me, just woman to woman, why is it that in all the portraits that are made of you, your face is sad instead of the joy of being the mother of God? Mary comes close and whispers, I'm sure between us sisters, it's okay to tell. I really wanted a girl. Now, this woman beams with a wide smile that some of us have become familiar with. And she says, oh my, I have two lovely girls that have been the joy and solace of my life. Mary responds, wow, all two of them. Now they will have us both looking after them and their grandchildren for the rest of their lives. So, there you have it, Winnie's girls. Your mom, grandmom, has negotiated a deal of love that only Winnie could think of even in the hereafter. Why do you seek the living one amongst the dead? Winnie went to church on Good Friday. She took into that church the gruesome impact of the monotonous, depressing, grey structures of township living that she never abandoned, and whose very appearance kills the soul, in order to be strengthened, to be a presence that revives the soul with the resurrection hope of which she was always an agent. Together with the rest of the faithful, she relived the passion, the pain, and the death of Christ. She went away heaving with emotional and spiritual exhaustion of Good Friday. She woke up on Sunday to the joyous celebration of the resurrection morning. In a way, she joined the faithful women who went to the tomb that morning. The gospel tells the story. It was Mary Magdalene, Joanna, Mary the mother of James, and the other women with them. I suggest that this past Easter, Winnie Madikizela-Mandela joined and became one of the other women. For us, she has a name, Nomzamo Winifred Madikizela-Mandela, and she lives. The gospel story goes on to tell how they found the empty tomb and how they saw the angel who said, why do you seek the living one amongst the dead? He is not here, but he is risen. It tells how they went and told all these things to the 11 apostles and to the rest of them. Guess what? The gospel story tells us also that their words seemed to the apostles like idle tales, and they did not believe them. What is new? Women's experiences and insights have been dismissed and trivialized by us men throughout the ages. Winnie, as one of the other women, turned around and said to Mary Magdalene, to Joanna, and to Mary, the mother of James, you worry about not being believed when you say Jesus is risen? Think of the woman or child who's raped in South Africa every 26 seconds and whose life-shattering ordeal nobody believes. Wait till you hear from women such as Noxolo Xakeka of Western Cape, Duduzile Zozo and Notula Khatebe of Togoza, Noxolo Magwaza of Guatemala, lesbian girls brutally killed after so-called corrective rape in South Africa, and whose deaths have yet to be solved. Maybe nobody believes they've even been killed except their families. Our Winnie went on passionately. What of the fate of young people with albinism who grow up with parents who wonder daily if they will someday fail to come home, like Tandazile Mbunzi of Manguzi, killed and dismembered, or Gabisile Shabane, the 13-year-old girl also with albinism, and her 15-month-old nephew Ngosi Konangwenya, abducted and killed in January this year in Mpumalanga. Winnie had now become unstoppable. With encouragement from our dear Mary Magdalene, girls killed by their lovers young people wallowing in the grip of drugs, youth with potential unfulfilled for lack of access to resources and the wherewithal to succeed, all amounting to a life of a perpetual Good Friday experience, making the resurrection accounts hard to make sense of and unbelievable. The more urgent task, argued Winnie, is to mobilize society for citizen responsibility and citizen agency against all social and economic ills. And this must be informed at all times by the experience of poor people and those in the margins of opportunity. Will anyone listen? And she yells out one more time, I'm burning to shout out on all these things. I adopt the message of Jeremiah the prophet and assume the confidence he has, as though inspired by the resurrection. He says, but the word is within me as mighty and awesome. Therefore my persecutors will stumble and will not prevail. Lapho ngithi angisayi kumkhumbula ngingasakhuluma egameni lakhe, kusenhliziyweni yami njengomlilo oshisayo, uvalelwe emathanjeni ami. Angikhathele ukubekezela, angikwazi. Ngizwile ukuhleba kwabaningi, luvalo nxa zonke bethi mangalele, masimangalele. Bonke abangane bami bayalinda ukuwa kwami. Mhlawumbi angayengwa simahlule size siphindizele. Kepha uJehova unami njengeqhawe elesabekayo. Therefore my persecutors will stumble and will not prevail. They will be greatly ashamed, for they will not prosper. Their everlasting confusion will never be forgiven. In her confident faith, Winnie proclaims, I have found my life in the risen Christ, who says in John's Gospel, when I am lifted up from the earth, I will draw all people to myself. Why then should we seek the living one amongst the dead? She lives and she has multiplied. The question is whether this acclaim of Winnie's multiplication is just a fad for this week only. Can it take root in our communities, in our organizations, and in our churches? In her call to us, she makes her resolve for social justice the appropriate way for the disciples of Christ. And what does Jesus say for himself? Does she agree with Winnie? He says, I have come that they may have life and have it abundantly. And for this reason, the Spirit of the Lord has anointed me to preach good news to the poor, to proclaim that he has sent me to heal the brokenhearted. Ngithumele ukumemezela ukukhululwa kwabathunjiweyo, nokubona kwabayizimpumputhe, nokuhlenga abacindezelweyo. And therefore, he says again in the Gospel of Matthew, khona inkosi iza kuthi kwabangasekunene kweyo, zanini nina enibusisiwe ngubaba nidle ifa lombuso eniulungiselelwe kwaselokhu kwasekelwa umhlaba. Ngoba ngangilambile nangipha ukudla, ngangomile nangiphuzisa, ngangingumfokazi nangingenisa, ngihamba ze nangembathisa, ngangigula nangihamba, ngangisetilongweni nezakimi. Winnie would have done all of that. Iza kuphendula inkosi ithi kuWinnie nabanye abahamba naye, ngiqinisile ngithi kini njengokuba nikwenzile nokomunye walabo abafowethu abancane nikwenzile nakimi. As long as you have done this to the least of my sisters and brothers, you have done it for me. The people of Boipatong and Sedibeng remember Winnie. The families and co-workers of those killed in the Kinross mine disaster of 1992 remember Winnie's comforting. The Marikana widows know Winnie Madikizela-Mandela. Those she supported through their education, those whom she helped reconcile in conflict, those she mentored and made into healthy and worthwhile citizens for public good, will never forget Winnie. Before their tiny lives of Michael Komapi and Viwe Jali were crudely snuffed in pit toilets, the last word in their mouths, I'm sure, would have been, Winnie, Winnie. This is what Jesus expects of his disciples. Those who do this will not die. but will have life everlasting. And so Winnie will ask you and me of little faith, you and me of fickle commitment. Why do you seek the living one amongst the dead? Winnie is not dead. She lives in each one of us, and she is therefore with the living, the woman of the resurrection faith who chose Easter Monday for her departure as a permanent challenge for you and I to take the significance of the resurrection seriously, so that through us she will indeed be with the living. We are not here to canonize Winnie Madikizela-Mandela, but we're here to express and adopt a challenge for ourselves. The challenge speaks to the Christians to become active agents of the resurrection hope, to make the Easter dividend a hope of, and the Easter dividend and hope a reality. Our numeric dominance as Christians makes us bear the most guilt for our failure to make for the good society of values and standards that promote the public good of Winnie's dreams. Every ward in this country has no less than 10 to 20 worshiping centers. Can we make these into centers of the resurrection hope to build positive values against social ills and for the good of all citizens? But the same challenge goes for all South Africans, citizens of South Africa, citizens of the African continent, and citizens of the world, to stand up and be counted after the manner of her selflessness in citizen agency, because the mother of the nation became the mother of active citizenship beyond her nation. Let us all, with all our differences and in all our diversity, use her memory to summit onto the rendezvous of the good society for which we say she has multiplied. To us now and always, she has become the ancestor of active citizenship. Yes, she has breathed her last, but the power of her presence will surely tower on beyond long after she has departed.
Thank you very much. I'm now going to just say a few announcements. Tonight, because we have been here, the memorial service, there wouldn't be prayer services at home, so that the family can also go and rest. Tomorrow there is a prayer service at Regina Mundi. On Saturday, we expect everybody to be seated by 7:30 in the morning. Transport logistics will be announced from tonight and throughout the day, tomorrow and Friday. The pickup points in Gauteng are known by colleagues and comrades and different communities through your ward and your ward committees. I'm now going to invite General Untitled Mandela to come and say a vote of thanks.
Thank you, Deputy President of the Republic of South Africa, Bishop Gary Rivers, Reverend Dr. Meana, Bishop Mpumlwana. Let me take this opportunity on behalf of the family to greet and thank the Program Director, the leadership of South African government for hosting this activity for us, the diplomatic corps that have attended this graced this occasion, the Soweto community, the media, distinguished guests, and all ladies and gentlemen that have honored us today. Firstly, the Mandela and the Madikizela family would like to thank you all for the coming to celebrate the life of Mama Winnie, for the life worth living. She was one of the kind and one in the millions. We are equally honored that you joined us in this occasion to honor Mangutyana. On behalf of the family, the children, the grandchildren, the great-grandchildren, I convey a hearty thank you. We are greatly honored with your presence. even of the international guests that are present here, the leaders of the different political organizations, the religious fraternity, the traditional leaders and the royal houses and all friends of the family. We say thank you so much for your support. Your support is a source of great encouragement for this family. Many individual expressions have been conveyed by different speakers. What a befitting event. Your presence signifies that Mangutjana is held in highest regard by the South African citizens and beyond. Her power resides in her intellect. Hamba kakuhle Mangutjana. Umsebenzi wakho ufezile, ugqatso ulufezile. Thank you to all. Last but not the least, I need to say thank you to everyone who has dedicated their time to help set up and make this day a success. No words will bring her back, and no tears will bring her back. Stories and poems and books will be written on this stalwart. Sithi siyabulela, sithi nobandla, Mangutjana, Papa, Msuthu, Msengethwa, sisithi mangomso kubantu balapha, enkosi. Thank you.
Enkosi kakhulu General. We now going to retlo amohela mohau hore re kwale mosebetsi wa rona ka tsela eo re qadileng ka yona ka thapelo Baba Mpumlwana.
Please stand. Zanga izithunywa zezulu zinganikhusela ngamaphiko azo. Angamanyange angazolula ukuqamata izandla zawo nemkelele intsikelelo zakhe. Ize intsikelelo yophezu konke. Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit be with you now and always to the end of this age. Amen.
Amandla Gawethu. Thank you siyabonga nihambe kahle ma comrades. Ladies and gentlemen, dignitaries, members of the media, members of the diplomatic corps, our deputy president, ministers and deputy ministers, leaders of political parties, thank you so much.